Bureaucracy might be humanity's greatest invention and our worst nightmare. Today we're exploring how an entire civilization managed to turn a simple wave hello into a regulated nightmare of precise angles and certified gestures.
That's quite a statement. What exactly are we looking at here?
Well, imagine a world where you can't even buy a loaf of bread without performing a specific hand gesture at exactly 17 degrees. This planet, Sathriel 4, actually created entire government ministries dedicated to measuring and certifying these movements.
Hold on, they actually measure the angles of people's hand gestures? How does that even work?
Oh, it gets better. They have these officials called gesture evaluators who wear silver robes and use special measuring frames. And get this, they can actually fail you for being too sincere because apparently sincerity distorts the proper angle.
That's absolutely wild. What happens if someone fails their gesture evaluation?
Well, that's where their whole economy comes in. There's this massive market for gesture correction devices, including something called weighted serenity gloves and pre-blessed knuckle balm, in mint flavor, of course. They've even created a startup offering gesture as a service, where you can outsource your daily gestures to certified professionals.
So they've basically created an entire industry around regulatory compliance for waving?
Exactly. And here's where it gets really fascinating. They have these heretics called the left-handers who believe the gesture should be performed as a mirror image. They're actually persecuted for it, even though the difference is literally just which hand you use.
That's both hilarious and deeply concerning. How did society even function with all these restrictions?
Well, they developed this incredibly complex system of different angles for different situations, like 23 degrees for declarations, 29 degrees for artistic endeavors, but only if the art doesn't appear too confident, and 33 1/3 degrees for what they call reality adjustments.
You know what this reminds me of? Those corporate environments where simple processes become overwhelmingly complex just to justify someone's job.
That's exactly right. And they even had this thing called the audit of sincerity. Random inspectors who would grade people's gestures on a spectrum from plastic devotion to authentic awe. Can you imagine being fined because your gesture was too beautiful?
So what finally broke this cycle of bureaucratic madness?
Well, two things happened. First, during a power outage, people just started trading normally, just smiling and exchanging goods without any prescribed motions. Then they discovered these ancient murals showing that the original gesture was just people waving hello to each other.
That must have caused quite an upheaval in their society.
The authorities tried to control it, of course. They actually issued official statements saying, "Do not attempt to be friendly without professional guidance." But people just started ignoring the rules, waving to each other, being genuine.
That's actually quite beautiful. The triumph of simple human connection over bureaucracy.
And you know what's really interesting? Some families had already been secretly experimenting with using both hands to gesture together. When they finally felt free to do it openly, some laughed, some cried, but many just sat there feeling truly connected for the first time.
It really makes you think about all the unnecessary complications we add to simple human interactions in our own lives.
Exactly. As the story puts it, faith is a door you can walk through by standing together, not by measuring the handle. Sometimes the most revolutionary act is just being genuine in a world that's forgotten how.
So what's the key lesson we should take away from all this?
I think it's about recognizing when we're adding unnecessary complexity to things that should be simple and meaningful. Whether it's in business, relationships, or society at large, sometimes we need to step back and ask ourselves, are we measuring the handle or are we actually walking through the door? End of transmission. This has been a presentation of Wanderer Chronicles Radio from the Archive of Impossible Places. Thanks for listening. Upcoming next, another fascinating story from the Keeper's Living Logs. Stay tuned.